Of all the Porsches in Magnus Walker's collection, his number 277 is special, like an old pair of shoes. But what is it about Magnus, and why is the world drawn to him? He's a fashion designer that's been obsessed with Porsches since he was 10 years old. He became the urban outlaw, and his number 277 became an iconic 911.
Hey, Nicole, top of the morning.
Oh my God, you're awesome!
Good to see you, good to see you. So you finally made it.
Yes, look what you got here.
Yeah, come on, take a look.
Oh my gosh.
Now, I got something for you because I heard you were looking for this and you didn't have this. So I got something for you,
Dude,
right there.
I read the second edition and it was a lot thinner than this.
This is the third edition that picks up from where the second edition left off. Hold on. Oh, I see. I knew you were coming.
Look at this.
One step ahead, pedal to the metal.
That's your big ball over there.
The big ball, yeah.
Your
the
big TED ball.
That is, if you've watched the TED Talk, this is the ball that was at the TED Talk at UCLA.
Yeah, nobody has a big TED ball.
Yeah, well, there you go. There it is. I'm known as a Porsche guy, a car guy, but probably the most watched thing I've done is the TED
There's
Talk.
like 10 million views on
I got that, and then I got the T-shirt. That's the infamous T-shirt.
You've become the Porsche guy, and so people who are discovering you probably don't even know where you started and came from. Backing way up, you're England. You're from England.
That's right. Born in Sheffield. Left school at 15 with 2 O levels. So I don't have a ton of what I would call
2 O levels, meaning just a couple years into like what would be high school.
Yeah,
here,
I literally left school at 15. Yeah, so most people would go on to do A levels and then university. I know it's a bit different here with the school system, but I describe people as you're either buck smart with a big education or you're street smart. I'm more of the street smart person. Sure. So coming to LA when I was 19 was like the land of opportunity. Here's Willow, to do whatever it is I wanted to do. And what I love about LA is you can live your dream, you can make it happen. There's an infrastructure to allow you to do things, right? Without actually having a lot of educational background in that field. Whether you're a skateboarder, a surfer, a rock star, a musician, a film guy, or engineer, or whatever. All my adult responsibility is being done in LA, not just America, LA. And by that I mean, when I was in England, I never had a driver's license, never had a real job, was still living at home with my mum and dad, didn't have my own apartment, barely had a bank account. And back in England, it was like cut your hair and get a real job. Well, I've had long hair for over 40 years and I've never really had a real job.
So have I.
Yeah, there you go.
Wow. Where do we start? This is amazing.
Well, we can start right here. This is actually a good place to start because when most people think of Porsche, they don't necessarily think of 924, 928, 944, and 968. They think of the iconic 911. But I'm a goal-orientated collector. So for me, it's all about experiencing everything Porsche's ever made in a sports car, which is front-engined, mid-engined, rear-engined, both air and water-cooled.
When I was a kid, my mom got married to my stepdad when I was 6 years old, and he was a manager of a Porsche Audi dealership.
Wow.
My mom went in to buy a 924.
No way.
Yep. And my dad would drive a 911 home, whatever was on the lot.
Was that how she met you, stepdad?
Yes.
She went into a Porsche dealership.
And bought a Porsche.
Wow.
She bought a 924.
Wow.
Yes. And so,
how old were you when your mom had a 924?
I was 6.
Wow.
Yeah. But so my dad always drove a 911 home or whatever was laying around the lot.
What an
I remember he got pulled over. We were in the car together and he got pulled over and he was out there for
going
a while.
too slow?
You're probably going too slow, yeah. He goes talking to the officer for a while and he comes back, didn't get a ticket. The officer wanted to see the car.
This is a good story. Let me show you around. I'll show you a couple more things. These are the cars that didn't make it into the garage.
This is like when you go and you order the milkshake, but the milkshake maker makes too much for the container.
Yeah, leftover.
And they give you a container and then a really small thing of milkshake.
What is your favorite flavor of milkshake?
Oh, chocolate or peanut butter and chocolate.
I'm more of like like some sort of blackberry strawberry mix.
Yeah.
If we want to talk about what it is I do.
This is what you do.
Well,
right? You do those louvers.
I came up with the idea, then I had Rod Emery fabricate. This was a whole deal, which actually started on this car here, to be honest. But essentially, this was the second pair of louvers we ever did. And
you have a curve and a louver.
Yeah, so actually the best way to describe it is come over here and then we'll back up.
Oh my gosh.
So I've always been into Americana, Evel Knievel, Captain America, Motley Crue, Guns N' Roses, American bands. So my style really is I'll throw some traditional into the blender, like making a milkshake, but it's not chocolate, peanut butter. It's like sex, drugs, rock and roll mixed with this 70s era of Porsche Motorsports with Americana.
Right.
So hot rod touches, like louvers on deck lids have been around forever, since the 20s. Like E-Type Jags have louvers, flat top Fords have louvers. But Porsche 911s didn't actually have louvers. 356s did. I went to Rod Emery, who's, you know, the guru.
Rod
and
is the guy.
he liked the challenge because it was something at the time he hadn't done either. So what he had to do was scan a fender and then basically create the radius and create a custom die that was made out of billet aluminum. Then what you got to do is find the center of the fender,
Sure.
measure your line and decide how many louvers you got to do. Then you got to mark it, drill it, slit it, and then turn it upside down and hand stamp it, push it through,
stretch it into
and
that
hope
shape.
that you actually get them where they're perpendicular. Because if they're slightly off
your eyes are gonna
perpendicular,
see it.
you're going to see it, and then you
Yeah.
can't start it again. This is individually stamped into the steel fender. This was the original tooling for the original stamped panel right here. So Rod did this, and then I took an old beat-up 912 fender.
So you're practicing on things.
Yeah.
It's not just a slit in metal. There's some craftsmanship and thought and
For
design.
sure, and this was done before louvered fenders. You know, for example, the GT3 RS has a carbon fiber louvered fender insert that's just basically pushed into the fender. This is stamped in individually. Each one is individually done. And what this does really is relieve air pressure out of the wheel well. You know, for me, it's mostly aesthetic because I'm not quite going fast enough where pressure building up under the wheel well.
And this is another thing that you do is the center filler.
Yeah, this is
Right
pretty
here.
racy. So here's a great example of, a lot of people have done center hood fillers on race cars forever. This is actually nothing new. So this is pretty common. So for me, trying to reinvent my own wheel with this car, what I did here was do something also that had never been done before. I put the cap through the fender. So this is where the stock filler would be with a flap and then a hose that goes down into the tank. But no one had ever done
You
that.
have to curve it and match
Yes.
that profile.
Curved, yeah.
Yes, it's
If you look at it,
compound.
compound
Yeah,
curve.
That's it.
This car has crank windows,
Yeah.
manual window cranks. Originally,
Yeah.
this would have had electric windows, but this is how interchangeable 911s are. This window frame, crank, and glass came out of a 65 912 over there and drops right in. Porsche didn't change the interior door pressing for the first 30 years. They engineered it so well that it went through 5 generations without changing design.
Does that mean parts availability is actually better than you'd think it is in this universe?
Yeah, for
of those
sure.
cars?
Yeah, because Porsche built a lot of them. You know, 911s were built to be driven, unlike, let's say, Ferraris and Lamborghinis of that era, similar era, that weren't as reliable and cost more money. The center hood is channeled, it's narrow. You see the gap on this one's like 22-inch wide?
You did that on purpose?
Yes, instead of trying to paint a hood stripe, it's in the metal.
But aren't there people that are like, how dare you? Porsche
course.
thought it had to be
Yeah,
this
of
way.
course.
Who are you to say Porsche should have done it this way?
Of course. I'm always pissing off the purists. These cars, I own them. My theory is I can do whatever I want to them. And the car always determines if it gets modified or not. I teamed up with a couple of guys that were able to fabricate an all-steel roof panel instead of just doing sunroof
Yeah.
delete. Put this channel in it, delete the rain gutter.
So you have
and then
to
it's
raise
coming
that
up.
arch and match
Yes.
that. There's a lot of
Metal work that went into this. What I love doing is incorporating these R-inspired turn signals that are grafted into the actual
Yes.
body.
Yep.
So this is not a wide body, it's still narrow bodied. The fenders have been rolled and dollied slightly. If you run your hand over that lip, you'll see how that's rolled the edge.
Absolutely. Yeah, if it gives it stiffness.
Yeah, well, this car is rolling on my own Outlaw wheels, which I teamed up with 1552 to create my own version of the Fuchs wheel. It's on KW coilover suspension, Brembo club race brakes. And then the
They're
interior,
really good looking.
Yeah,
They're super good looking.
this is form and function. This car weighs 2,560
Oh, I
pounds.
love the snugness of
Yeah.
this seat. Okay, is this a Recaro? What is this?
That's a
seat?
Recaro
Oh, I need to
SPG.
buy this seat for my Boxster.
And then I
This is
just recovered it in leather. So if you look at the leather on the door panels and then touch the headliner, it's all the same leather that's on the
Oh
seat.
my gosh, and it's super simple.
So look at this. That was the first version.
You're a little dolly.
A little
Look
dolly,
At
there
you.
you
You're
go.
a little
dolly.
dolly.
You
I
cut it.
feel like I could play Monopoly with you.
Yeah,
And
maybe. Yeah,
you're
on the board, yeah.
You're
You gotta
so
go around
lucky.
the board.
Seven's good luck. I could move you
Lucky-
around and
That's my lucky number.
pass go lots of times.
Talking of lucky numbers, a lot of people ask me about why 277. So I was born 7767. It's a good time to the lucky number.
To have 777s, you were born to have good luck. You realize that, right?
I didn't realize at the time. You know, growing up as a kid in Sheffield, England, I didn't like my name Magnus. So going to school.
I was going to ask you
well,
about
I saved
that,
you the question.
right?
Everyone's like David, John, Paul, Stephen. So of course I got picked on being the only kid in a school of 1,000 people with an odd name.
Skinny, tall kid?
Yeah, so as a kid, I didn't like my name. But what I later realized is it's a little bit like the Johnny Cash song, A Boy Named Sue. It builds character. When you get picked on, you develop a thick skin. And I think as a kid, I did a lot of cross-country running, middle distance running. It was like the loneliness of the long-distance runner. So in a way, I feel like I was born to be an outlaw or a rebel. 277, which you're going to get to drive, has become an inspirational car. The sum of its parts, it's nothing special. It's got a lot of Hot Wheels made of it, but the sum of its parts, meaning 277, it's not like it raced Le Mans, Sebring, Daytona, but the relatability to it is everyone can relate to sort of, like I said earlier, building their dream car, chasing their dream car, whether it's with the father, the son, the granddad, the first car, with your boyfriend, whatever it may be, right? This wall is what I would call unsolicited artwork that people have sent in to me, inspired by 277. When I was 10 years old, my dad took me to the London Earls Court Motor Show. And I had a white Martini poster on the wall, 930 Turbo. And I wrote a letter to Porsche as a 10-year-old in 1977 saying I want to design cars.
Also Lucky Sevens, watch
Yeah,
out.
and they wrote me a letter back essentially saying call us when you're older. That was 1977. 35 years later, 2012, Tamir Moscovici's film comes out. He says to me in the film, how do you think Porsche would feel about what you've done with their cars? And I say something like, well, I hope they'd be smiling.
Yeah.
This is not a fashion statement that I'm going to, grow out of. It's not a trend that's going to pass through. I've been into this for 46 years. I'm more passionate about it now than I've ever been. My dream came true when I bought my first one back in 1992, 31 years ago when I was 25. So that represented a real dream come true and a personal sense of achievement.
Do cars find their way to you now?
Yeah.
Do people say, hey, I've got this old, do you want to buy this?
Perfect example, this car over here, this 924 Carrera GT. Porsche only made 406 of these. It was like the pinnacle of the road-going 924 Turbo. So this car was originally in Europe, went to Japan, found its way to Australia. The guy in Australia couldn't register it, so I ended up buying it for pennies on the dollar and shipping it from Sydney, Australia to LA. So 277 came out as a Hot Wheels in 2018. I've already done over 30 of them since then.
I have a Scooby-Doo Hot Wheels.
Well, that's
Does
pretty...
that count?
Did you bring it?
No, I should have.
You should have. Everyone has a Hot Wheels story, whether you're 2 or 100. I would put one of these in my pocket and it was like my good luck charm, like my rabbit's fun.
Yeah.
It literally went around the world with me. It was this good luck charm. So 277, it's got 8 different Hot Wheels. In 2015, it was in the Need for Speed video game.
And you're just going to write all these fairy tale things into the story. You do realize that, right?
Well, yeah, I hear what you're saying.
And
but
I'm sure it looks like that on the outside, but you worked your butt off to get here.
My life has not been scripted. And as a kid, people would say to me, careers day at school, where do you see yourself in 5, 10, 15, 20 years? And I never knew where I saw myself. I don't have my life planned out. It either feels good with the gut feeling and you go with the gut feeling and say yes, or you say no. So it's just being open to possibility and open to doing things that you're not familiar with. Seeing these bands, whatever it may be, right? Iggy Pop and Motorhead, and sooner or later, these things evolve, and I'm doing photo shoots and videos and making clothing for Alice Cooper and going on tour with Alice Cooper. These things just happened organically, but if you're passionate about something, and I'm still passionate about cars, that gets you out of bed at 5 a.m. in the morning, having only slept 6 hours. You don't have to set an alarm. You're just waking up because you're ready to go conquer that challenge. So my life has always been about challenges.
You're willing to admit if you need to understand a concept better, or ask Rod Emery for assistance, or somebody else who might know something better than you. And that's cool.
I think to achieve a goal, you have to be open and willing to work with other people. I'm still talking about doing cool with cool people, right? I want to be inspired to get out of bed and create stuff. I'm not good at graphics like Photoshop and Illustrator. So what I did when I bought this car is I simply took a photo on my phone and then I printed it out on these 11 by 8 sheets and I started doodling. Now if you look at this, these are actually Post-its on the wall making the checkerboard. And then I teamed up with my buddy.
You just rattle can it? You put Post-its out and rattle can it? Or stamp it?
No, it was Post-its. And then if you look here, this is paper cloth tape that we're laying up. So the concept of this car is, it was like, imagine an old race car had gone through different race liveries, been parked out somewhere near Willow Springs in the desert under a top and faded out. It's a 73, it's a 914. And I was in it less than 10 grand. And then it was on display. As you know, you go to SEMA, it's all
Yeah.
big budget, shiny builds. Not too much stuff at SEMA.
But was
looks like
everybody
this.
looking at it because
Of course.
it stood out?
Right. In 2020, I got approached by Nike, this dude, Pelly, Porsche Pelly, and he said, hey, how do you feel about collaborating on a sneaker with one of our pro skaters? I said, you know what, that sounds like an epic idea, but I got to tell you, I don't skateboard. He goes, it doesn't matter. He goes, we like your attitude, this sort of punk rock attitude.
Yeah.
Here's the original first sample based
Did
around
they give you
277.
this little template?
Yeah, they gave me the
of
template,
the shoe, and
but
you
I
just started
doodled and coloring in.
You doodled.
So the goal here was to have the shoe be like the car. What size shoe are you? What size shoe are you?
7.
7. This shoe came out 2 years ago and it actually sold out in 10 minutes, and then they were extremely hard to get. But as luck would have it, why don't you have a seat down here? Take a seat.
Oh my
we're gonna. This may or may not work. We don't really know if this is gonna work. I had about 150 pairs, and I gave them all away, apart from a few pairs that I kept for myself. And ironically, what size does that say on the box?
Are you serious?
7's kind of an odd size because it's obviously not a dude size.
What the heck?
So that's a size 7.
Oh my
A little bit like Cinderella, right? If the shoe fits.
If the shoe fits, I get to drive the car?
Well, maybe. We'll
Yes,
see.
this is my Cinderella.
We'll see if the shoe fits.
Dude.
How do they feel? There you go. Bingo.
Look at us.
You want to see
Check
the
it
car
out,
now?
bro.
Yeah, look at that.
These are so rad.
I think it's time to show you the car.
Yes, show
Okay,
me the
let's
car.
go.
I am properly prepared to see the
All
car.
right, let's go see the car.
Holy mackerel.
Let me turn the light on
Holy crap.
and we'll get into here.
Oh my gosh, Magnus.
So this is the main garage. You can take it all in. Take your time.
There's a lot. What the heck? I mean,
So Nicole, it looks like the shoe fits, but we should see if you fit in the car.
This is like, is this a pumpkin for me? This is my Cinderella moment?
We're gonna find out.
God.
I don't know what that means, but we're gonna find out.
You don't know what that means.
Cinderella moment. I got you.
Whoa.
All right, there you go. You're in. So this is my favorite of all favorites. I bought it at the Pomona Swap Meet in 1999. So I've owned it almost half its life,
and
24
it's got
years.
these mismatched seats.
Yeah, this was my streetable track car. So it wasn't full-blown race car caged, having to go in a trailer. It was streetable track car that you could do track days, wheel-to-wheel, time trials, competition, and then still have fun in the canyons on your favorite twisters. So that's a short story
This
of
is
a
your
long story.
favorite blankie.
Yeah, this is my favorite pair of old shoes, the car I'm most comfortable in, the
sure.
car I'm most associated with. It's on old, antiquated sort of Weltmeister sway bars and torsion bars that have been stiffened up. It's on its 4th motor. The car I often describe as a flat-foot car. And what I mean by that is it doesn't have a ton of horsepower.
Yeah.
It's a momentum car.
Yes.
The motor that's in it is an old tired 2.6 twin-plug motor.
And you can learn to be a better driver with a momentum
Yeah, of
car.
course.
High horsepower car, you could maybe not take a line great, but make up for it on a straight.
Right.
This one you have to keep
Right,
moving.
momentum rolling
Yep.
all the time.
So it's a 1971.
So 1971
911T.
911T.
But what does that mean?
Well, T was for touring. In the early 70s, Porsche had 3 models of 911s that all looked the same. The T essentially was for touring, was the entry base model. So T originally would have had about 130 horsepower.
Like a 2.2?
In
or-
71, it would be a 2.2. So from 64 basically through 70, it's a 2 liter. Then
Okay.
71, it's a 2.2. And then 74, it's a 2.4. So T is base model, E was mid-level model, and S would be top model, still with the same 2.2 liter motor, but the S would have about 160 to 180 compared to the T, which would have about 130.
Long wheelbase?
This is long wheelbase. Yeah, you've done your homework.
So the long-
short wheelbase is from 64 through 68.
You have to have a very trained eye to see the difference because we're talking like 2.25 inches, right?
Yeah. So to answer your question, Nicole, if you come over here, my birth year is 67. See the gap here's a lot shorter?
Oh. Well, and you don't have a flare, so you have to know what you're looking for. But
Yeah,
hold
but
on, I gotta
it's
get.
still a lot shorter.
It's this thing right here.
Yeah,
It's
that's
the
the cover.
distance right
That's
here.
the cover for the torsion bar. which is basically going through the car. We talked earlier about I'm known for modifying cars, bringing punk rock fashion into cars and sneakers. Now you got the tartan on the interior of the shoe. Here's tartan on the interior of the 78 SC. So 78 SC, Porsche's going from 2.7 liter to 3 liter. Porsche only had 2 models in 78. It was either an SC or a 930 Turbo in the 911. It's not like today where there's 57 different varieties of 992. Back then Porsche was a smaller company, they didn't have as many models, it was just a different era.
Sirius was in its heydays in what years?
Early 90s. I mean, Sirius was formed out of the remnants of a company that I had called Venetian Paradise, where I started on
In
the
Venice?
boardwalk in Venice, hence Venetian, where I was selling vintage clothing, essentially Levi's and old Western shirts and things like that I would find at yard sales and thrift markets and patch up onto Levi jeans in the late 80s, early 90s. And it was a combination of sort of Black Crowes, hippie vibe chic, but the rave scene also happened at the same time. So I'd been in LA by that time. It came in 86, late 80s. The novelty was wearing off a little bit. I figured out, hey, I got to make some money or I got to go home. And I don't want to go home back to Sheffield, England, because that represented failure when I had this taste of freedom that was LA. It was sex, drugs, rock and roll, Guns N' Roses, Motley Crue, Sunset Strip, fun times, no responsibility. But after 2 years of fun times were getting tough on the sense of it's no fun eating 25-cent frozen burritos all the time. So what am I going to do to make some money, pay some rent, get off someone's couches, and actually get my own place? And I accidentally fell into this secondhand clothing thing on the boardwalk in Venice, which led to the formation of Sirius Clothing, sort of gone from patching old Levi's to actually making my own garments. And Sirius was the vehicle that was successful from 1994 for the next 10 years. It enabled us to buy this building that we're standing in now, which is 3 continuous buildings built in 1902 through the 50s, 26,000 square feet. A couple of years later, when we converted the warehouse into a live-work loft, we accidentally fell into the film location business through an article in the LA Times based around loft gentrification of former industrial buildings that were getting converted to live workspaces.
Which was just barely starting here,
yes,
right?
we're talking 20, 25 years ago. LA was playing catch up to New York. New York had had Soho since the 60s and 70s. In 2012, get this phone call from this crazy Canadian, Tamir Moscovici. Long story short, that conversation ended up being Urban Outlaw, came out October 15, 2012. The past 10 years of my life have been this whirlwind of playing around with cars, meeting people, and traveling the world, sharing this car culture from a hobby point of view. It just keeps evolving.
Did you have this outgoing, big personality? Did you grow into this big personality? You have a great personality.
I think I grew into it. As a kid, I was a bit of a loner with the odd name, getting picked on in school, being the cross-country runner. I wasn't a team player. I'm still not a team sport player. When I go drive, I don't go with a bunch of dudes or bros or people. I like solo. I'm like a lone wolf.
You can think.
To me, freedom is to be able to do whatever you want to do when you want to do it.
I want to drive this. Where are we going to go?
I think we should go up Angeles Crest Highway.
beautiful.
It's my favorite road. It's 18 miles from here. It goes up to over 7,000 feet. Goes all the way to Wrightwood. You'd be sort of a fifth of the way back to Vegas at that point.
Right. And so that can I just drop you off on the side of the road,
take the
take
car.
off to Palmdale, and I'll see you in 3 weeks.
A lot of people have driven this car, but it's always great to experience it from the passenger seat with someone else driving the car and getting their interpretation of their feedback of the car. How does it feel? What does it do? How does it make you feel?
You ready?
I'm ready. You ready?
I'm ready.
So you got the shoes, but what you need is the 277 cap.
Oh my gosh! I am Magnus for a day.
If the hat fits, let's do it. You're heading eastbound on the iconic 6th Street Bridge.
I'm trying to find.
You just got to push your pedal to the metal. You got to push it further down.
Right.
This car's happiest above 4,000 RPM.
Yeah, it sounds so good. I'm just obsessed with hearing it right now.
It's that raspy, throaty, air-cooled induction, air getting sucked in.
Yeah.
How's the car feel on the front end?
Feels pretty good. It's very responsive. It wants to go.
This road in this car is all about rhythm. Rhythm of the flow of maximizing the RPM, the torque coming in and out of the corner, selecting the gear, and then throttle response.
Yeah.
You know, it's not so much a jab, it's a firm push down.
Smooth.
Yeah,
You gotta
it's
be
smooth.
smooth.
Smooth is fast. You
Gotta
hear
be
that all the
smooth.
time.
Yes.
This is like a slalom. It's like being a ballet dancer on a downhill slalom course.
Yeah. It's got a very nice, tight, stiff suspension. You can feel it. It wants to just take that corner. You've got it set up for a track.
I like a momentum car. You know, small displacement, revvy, but the real key is suspension. So this has got stiffer torsion bars, running 22 millimeter on the front, 28 millimeter on the rear. It's got adjustable sway bars. It's riding on Bilstein Sport shocks. It's still torsion bars, as I said. It's not coilovers, adjustable spring plates, front strut brace. And then the real key is I'm running a 15x7 and 8-inch wheel. It's my own outlaw wheel with sticky Hoosier R6. The front is a 225/45/15. The rear is a 225/50/15. Little taller on the rear. And the ride height is about 23-inch from the ground to the fender lip. The fender lip has been rolled, you know, and I've got about 1.5 degree of negative camber all around. The car's been corner balanced.
Right.
You know, it's corner balanced with 200 pounds
Nice.
of weight in that seat for me.
Nice.
And then that's essentially it. I'm running a Paget orange race compound brake pad, which takes a little bit of heat into it to get it to stop. When it's cold, it doesn't stop brake. These early cars, this is on early brake setup, meaning, you know, it's early S calipers. It's not power assisted, so
Right.
you've got great pedal feel,
Right.
but you have to push the pedal.
Sure. Do you feel the difference having owned so many and driven so many of this between the long and the short wheelbase as far as the stability? Having
Yeah,
a
for
longer
sure.
wheelbase?
I mean, short wheelbase in stock form, the way Porsche delivered it in '64, would have been on a 4.5-inch wheel with a 165/70 tire. So you got a lot of sidewall flex. What you can do on a short wheelbase car is put it on a wider, you know, 6 or 7-inch wheel all round with a more modern sticky compound low profile. Unless you happen to be racing in some series where you have to run in period correct form.
Right.
But what Porsche did was to cure that back end tail happiness was lengthen the wheelbase by 2.25 inch.
Yep.
The overall length of the car is the same.
Right.
What they did was just had a longer trailing
arm.
and essentially moved the center of the rear wheel back.
But they didn't
2.25
change
inch.
the arch, or did
What's
they
that?
change the location of the arch too?
Both. So the trailing arm is longer. They're interchangeable, but the distance from the pickup point on the torsion tube to the center hub is longer on a long wheelbase. And then obviously to compensate that, they moved the fender flare to a different position so the wheel is centered.
Yeah.
So that's, you know, it's a balance thing. What Porsche tried to do back in the day, actually to cure the tail happiness, was put 50 pounds of lead weight in the front of the bumper. Super antiquated to put more weight up front, because other than the gas tank, there's nothing up front. So the front's always live.
Yeah.
This car I've got it set up where you can keep your foot planted in the corner, and there's no body roll, and there's no sidewall tire flex. So you've got to get used to that stiffness, almost like a slot car.
And your camber adjustment will, I mean, having negative camber will keep that tire flat on
for
those
sure.
turns.
And then you got to get, it's a whole thing of, it's not just X amount of negative camber, it's toe and caster
Sure.
that goes with
Yeah,
it.
you can put more caster in, and that'll also end up affecting your camber if you
For
can't get as
sure.
much out of your coilover.
Yeah, and then correct tire pressure, obviously.
Sure.
This is one of my favorite sections here,
Beautiful.
uphill climbs.
I'm trying to concentrate on the road, understand your car, listen to everything you're saying, and appreciate the scenery. The air-cooled sound is, I see why you don't need music in any of your cars.
This car's running headers into a twin pipe sport exhaust. So, it's kind of loud, it's kind of raspy. It covers all the senses. Feels good, smells good, looks good, sounds good, it even tastes good.
Sure.
By modern standards, it's not the fastest car, but this car corners fast. This car doesn't excel in a straight line, but it excels in the corner.
You know what's amazing right now, Magnus? Your show, OPP, you drive other people's Porsches. I am suddenly transformed into an episode of OPP. I'm driving your Porsche and you're freaking hosting my show.
That's right, I'm in someone else's version of OPP, but hey, you know me, I'm down with OPP.
I'm down with OPP.
That's right, you know me. The 915 transmission came into production for the 72 911 year model.
Okay.
So this is obviously not a
71,
numbers matching
right.
car. I have a 915 from a later 911 with a Quaife limited slip differentials. I've got standard gears, but I've got a limited slip. So this doesn't have a whammy gearbox.
This is a nice little tight, I don't know this road, so
Yeah, this is the road to Mount Wilson Observatory.
Okay.
This is all second gear.
Of course.
This is like a rally mountain stage.
and there's rocks, a
Yeah,
lot
you
of
gotta
them
watch
from
the
the
rocks
recent
because you don't want to
rains.
split a Hoosier.
Of course.
I would drive this car to Willow Springs and back all the time, Laguna Seca. I race Thunder Hill, Laguna Seca, California Speedway, Las Vegas Motor Speedway, PIR at Phoenix, California Speedway. I ran an external front cooler, so I have an oil line that goes down the passenger side into a front nose-mounted cooler. Even on track when this thing was racing, it never got above 210. We're up about 190 right now.
You know what I like about you? You're extremely passionate. It's everything that you are. You love these cars. You're not pretending to be a dude playing a dude. I mean, you are you doing your thing. You really love this. And I think your excitement for the Porsche gets other people excited. So, your influence in that area can help keep younger audiences appreciating these cars.
Well, I appreciate that. I would say I'm a passionate Porsche dude. I fell in love with Porsche when I was 10 years old. That was 46 years ago.
There's so many things that we're feeling right now, and I might not be expressing it so well, but I can feel every bump in the road. There's so much feedback in the steering. The motor tells you how it's feeling, the gearbox, all of it. It really does engage all the
This
senses.
is a super communicative car and chassis that gives you the feedback through those two hands, those 2 feet, those 2 eyes, your brain and your butt that you're feeling through the seat. You're not too insulated from what's going on out here. The grip of the tire, the brakes, the smell, the oil, everything coming up to temperature, the engine exhaust sound, the raspiness of it, the visibility is great, the ergonomic driving position is great, the steering position is great. You've got this Momo steering wheel in your hands. It's not power assisted. It's direct. The throttle is connected to a rod that goes from your foot.
Yeah.
It's connected.
Yeah.
It's instant. There's no delay here. There's no disconnect where you wait for a turbo to spool up.
Dude, that was freaking insane.
Well, what'd you like about it?
I liked everything about it. I liked the sound, the feel, the stiffness, the shoes.
You like the shoes?
I like driving other people's Porsche.
Well, hey, you're down with OPP.
You're amazing, and I so appreciate all of your time, your knowledge, your passion, you being you. I feel very honored. Thank you.
Nicole Johnson, thank you for the detour.
Subscribe, like. We'll catch
Put
you
the
guys
pedal
next-
to the metal and get out and drive.
Catch you next time.
If you want to support us, go to patreon.com/Nicole Johnson's Detour or check out our awesome merchandise at NicoleJohnson'sDetour.com. Fashion fashion designer who's been obsessed with Porsches since he was 10 years old. And I forgot the rest of it. And
Outlaw 277 Detour, we needed a Nicole Johnson side mirror, driver's mirror adjustment. You're comfortable? Got a couple of pillows under you and behind you?
Jeeps taste like chicken, but with a little gear oil on the side.
What would Porsches taste like? Drum
Nope,
roll.
I have to open them more. Nope, I gotta open them more. I gotta open them up more, Magnus.
All right.
We could bottle all of the essence of Magnus and sell it. And call it Oozing Cool.
Oozing Cool. You could call it Odor Outlaw.
Oh, squirrel!
Popular car.
We almost killed a squirrel, Magnus.
That's good then.
Ready? How did I start it?